I'm Anil Kumar and I'll teach you how to solve inequalities very efficiently with the help of these two questions. The question here is solve the following inequalities. We have two of them, one and the other one. Let's begin by solving the first one, which is minus 2x times x plus 3 times x minus 2 times x minus 5 less than 0. So how do you do it? So let us say this is our number line and the zeros are given to us at this 0 is at 0, right? So let's write down our zeros. Zeros are at 0, this one is at minus 3, this one is at plus 2, this one is at 5. So we are given 4 different zeros, right? And then let us also see what is the degree of this equation. So degree of this equation is 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you multiply you get degree of 4. And then what is the leading coefficient? Leading coefficient is negative. So that is negative leading coefficient. So if that is the case, what do you expect? If you draw this graph of this function, since it is even degree, so it is even degree, right? Even degree with negative leading coefficient, the end behavior is going to be both sides down, correct? Both sides down. So the end behavior is as x approaches negative infinity, y approaches negative infinity, and as x approaches positive infinity, y approaches negative infinity. That is the end behavior. From these characteristics we can sketch and get the diagram. So what we have here is that the zeros are at 0, minus 3. So we have a linear 0 at minus 3. Then we have 1 at, let us say this is 0 for us. And then we have at 2. And then we have at 5, right? So these are our zeros. Zeros at minus 3, 0 at 0, then at 2, and then at 5. Now since the end behavior is known to us, that is to say that is the end behavior, right? And it's a degree 4 equation. So the graph of the function, the polynomial, will be kind of like this. Do you see that? So that is how the graph is going to be. From the graph, you can get the answer that the function is less than 0 within the interval. So we can write down the solution here. So the function, let me call this function as f of x, is less than 0. And the solution is from negative infinity to minus 3. So we get negative infinity to minus 3. And then from 0 to 2, 0 to 2. And then from 5 to infinity, correct? And then from 5 to positive infinity, right? So we can clearly see that the intervals are from this point to this, right? It's negative. And between these 2 points, and then from here to infinity. So from the graph we can easily get the solution. That is one way of doing it. I hope you find it very efficient. Now let's do the next one. Let us factor this. This was already given to us in factored form. So to factor, let me take minus x common. So we get x squared plus 5x plus, because we took minus we have to change the signs, right? 6, and we have greater than equal to 0. We can factor these also. Well, when there is minus, we can multiply by minus and make it less than equal to 0. So let's do that also, right? And okay, and we'll factor this part. We are looking for product of minus 6 and sum of plus 5. So we get, write this as x plus 6 times x minus 1, right? So let me, for the time being, keep it minus, and in next step I'll make it positive. And then say x times x plus 6, and I'm writing this as x minus 1, changing the sign since I'm multiplying by negative, so it gets less than equal to 0, right? So I again made less than equals to 0. Now you can graph this function, right, and then get your answer. So that is, in this particular case, it's a cubic function, right? Positive leading coefficient, right side up. So in this case, the graph will be kind of like this. Is it okay? So where the zeros are, we have zeros. Let me write down zeros at 0, -6 and 1. These are the zeros, correct? So we can write down our zeros in order. So this is at -6, then we have at 0, and then we have 1. And clearly from here you can see that the graph is less than 0 between -infinity to -6, right? -6. And then between 0 to 1. And that is all, right? So this is our solution set between these 2 points and then beyond this. So that's one way of doing it. The other way is to make table of values and then check the sign. So let me show you that method also. So what we have here is, we know the zeros, so we'll make a table, and we know these intervals. The intervals are from -infinity to -6, from -6 to 0, from 0 to 1, and from 1 to infinity. In these intervals we will take test points. So we will take test points in our intervals. So let us take a test point. Let us say our test points are -6. On this side is -7. On this side it could be 5 minus, right? Between 0 to 1 we can take a test point as half, and then we can take test point as 2. So these are our test points, correct? Now what we are going to test? We are going to test these 3 factors. Our factors are, one factor is x, the other one is x plus 6, and then we have x minus 1. So these are the 3 factors for us. So what we will just check is their sign, right? So these 3 factors sign is going to be checked, and then we'll multiply them to see whether they are positive or negative. If I have negative value, x will be negative, negative x will be negative, positive and positive. That is how it is going to be. For x plus 6, -7 will be negative, but these will be positive. For x minus 1, these all will be negative, but that will be positive. But when you multiply 3 negatives, what do you get? When you multiply 3 negatives, you get negative, right? When you multiply 2 negatives, you get a positive. When you multiply 1 negative, negative, and here you get positive. Less than equals to 1 means you are including this is less than equal to, so you have to include these points, okay? So this will be included, okay? This will be included. So good, we went for it, so we have done a correction. Point will be included because less than equal to, right? So since we are looking for this negative portion, this point will be included. So in this interval we have a solution, and also in this interval. Do you get the idea? And so our solution is from -infinity to -6, where -6 is included, and then from 0 to 1. Remember, this is the interval which we made a table of values and selected test points to find whether the function is negative or positive. Less than equal to 0 means negative or 0, right? So the solution for this is, let me rewrite our answer here since I made a mistake. So negative infinity can never be included, to -6, which has to be included, union you should write, and then between 0 to 1. I'm sorry, again 0 is included, and then 1, okay? Both are included. Square brackets means included, right? So that means filled in holes. So that is how you can actually solve this inequality. I hope you understand both the methods. Graphing is a very quick way of answering. Sometimes in the test paper they may mention to use this method of interval testing. So in that case you have to use this method. I hope it helps. Thank you and all the best.